Chairman, thank you for convening this hearing. Thank you to the witnesses who I know have covered a wide range of subject matter today. I had a couple of questions regarding the school board matter, which I'm not sure has been focused upon perhaps as much as I might have thought it would have been. This is, of course, the matter from 2021 where the National School Board Association, oddly, in my view, requested that the President of the United States initiate a federal law enforcement investigation of, in effect, parents who had shown up at a variety of school board meetings around the country. In my view, understandably, they were distressed by some very difficult and I think ill-advised decisions that were made regarding masking, regarding shutting kids out of school, regarding a variety of other very unusual practices that occurred during the COVID period, and wanted to express their views on that to their locally elected officials who were making those decisions, perhaps much as we're doing here in a different scale. It struck me as very odd that we had, at the time, that we had this private association asking for a federal law enforcement investigation and that they directed their request to the President of the United States. So much so that at the time I was serving as Attorney General in Kansas, and about 3 weeks after that request came in and the Department of Justice had directed, as I recall, some of the local offices to take certain actions in terms of, I think, responding to threats was their top line, rather an odd assertion given that there weren't any actual threats asserted in the request. A group of us, 17, I believe, state attorneys general, wrote to the President and to the then U.S. Attorney General, Mr. Garland, on October 18th and asked them, in effect, what are you doing and why are you doing it? We expressed in that a concern that they were being asked to intervene in what we called a quintessentially local issue, which is the public safety in the room of a public governing body that was local. And we asked that the President and the then Attorney General and others under their direction take our point of view that local authorities were perfectly capable of handling any threats in these local meetings, as they do each and every day all over the country, without this sort of fanfare. There were then some additional steps, and the School Board Association, as I recall, backed off a bit of what they had asked for, and then about a week after that, on October the 26th, a smaller but still substantial group of 14 of us followed up with a second letter to the President and to the Attorney General asking that they take a look at the School Board Association's actions and how those requests that were very odd had come to pass. So a handful of questions for our witnesses. I'll start with Mr. Swecker, but perhaps also Mr. Fahey. In the course of all this, it came to light that there had been conversations between people at the White House and the School Board Association, functionally consulting on the drafting of this letter that then requested a federal law enforcement investigation. In your experience, is that ordinary for the White House to be involved with a third-party outside organization and asking that federal law enforcement engage on a matter?
I can't come up with any examples of it during my tenure. And the most disturbing thing about it was that it was rolled out as a national initiative. It wasn't just an isolated instance where someone came in and said, I'm going to set up a bomb in this meeting. It was people, just like city council meetings and county commission meetings and boards of trustee meetings across the country. That's where people exercise their First Amendment rights. And clearly this went way, way beyond that in the form of a national level initiative.
Have you ever seen anything like it?
No.
Mr. Fahey?
I've never seen anything like it. And another thing that's striking about this, if you look at DOJ, and they put together a task force on things like drug trafficking, terrorism, human trafficking, it's usually major things. And this was all of a sudden, whatever information they had, they nationalized this with task force and every U.S. attorney elevating it to a level, and I'm sure you all know threats are fairly common. I'm sure what you do, and I dealt with them all the time at the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the idea that anything would have risen to this level was really, it just shows it was political in nature, because as you know, the issue of the day of that November election, both in New Jersey as well as Virginia, was that educational issue.
Did any federal prosecutions result from this use of resources?
My understanding was none, and that's the other thing, if you put that much resources into it, the fact that you would come up with nothing, it just shows that there probably was nothing there to begin with.